Good afternoon, Carl. How are you?
I'm doing good. What's going on?
It would have been nice if the Giants defense could have gotten the Broncos off the field at some point yesterday, Carl.
Yeah, it's I think it was a just a failure of everything start to finish because Pat Shermer came in with a masterful game plan and he really took the Giants to school. And I just think for the ability, the skill set of the Giants players across their defensive personnel, it was embarrassing to see how much success Teddy Bridgewater had against that defense. And, I know it's early, but it was early for them too. And the thing that was really, I would say, disappointing is that they just couldn't make any adjustments to stop it. And Teddy Bridgewater, their game plan for him and for their quarterbacks right now, it's a 2-read drop in passes. It's in the progression is as you're dropping back, you're reading number one. If that's covered, then you automatically go to number two. And it was just all different crossing routes. And the Giants just fundamentally couldn't get it stopped. And then even when they were in man coverage at times, they played the wrong technique. Some things I think are totally fixable, but it was just kind of disappointing to see that they just could not get things stopped just based on the personnel that they have, the talent of their personnel. And I know that Patrick Graham is a gifted play caller, but they've got to go back and really look at how they approached the game and then any in-game adjustments they made, because it just didn't seem like they made any adjustments to really offset what the Broncos were doing. And then on top of that, because, I thought coming out of training camp, the defense was ahead of the offense. So I thought they should have been more complementary, played more complementary football so that their offense could have more opportunities. And it was, I think we got to like the third quarter, the Broncos had like 60 plays on offense and the Giants had like 19. So when you start looking at every time the Giants got on the field, it felt like they had to get something done or else they may not be out there very long. And they didn't do a good job either. Now, don't get me wrong, the Giants offense needed to do more in terms of execution, less in terms of being predictable, like in the Kadarius Toney jet sweep, right? Everybody knows that play is in Jason Garrett's playbook all the way back to when he was doing it with Cole Beasley in Dallas. But you got to set it up because, I think everybody in the stadium knew that if Kadarius Toney was in the game and that motion came, it was going to be something to him, and they didn't fool anybody. So, it was just, and we can talk more in detail about some of the failures, but I think as a whole, it was disappointing. And I think most disappointing was the defense, given the fact that they were so far ahead of the offense coming out of camp. And from a personnel standpoint, they just didn't have answers to a team that was not that complex in terms of the Denver Broncos.
Carl Banks is our guest. Carl, I want to hone in just for a second, though, on the offense, because as they were putting together the best drive of the afternoon, Daniel Jones fumbles the football. What's going through your mind as he hits the turf?
Well, it's kind of here we go again. They're driving the football, and he makes a good decision to scramble and a bad decision or an unfortunate one when he fumbles. He had both hands on the ball and he still couldn't hold on to it. But, that was one play in many that they had an opportunity for. But this is the one that gets highlighted because that's the thing that has plagued this quarterback. But there are a lot of different instances where they've had opportunities. You had a drop ball by Saquon Barkley on a check down that probably gets them closer to the goal line in another series. So it's a lot. But yeah, Daniel Jones, this is something that we've known that he has to get cleaned up, and it appears the first game of the season. So it's kind of a deja vu moment, if you will. let's see what happens next week. The good news is he didn't throw an interception. The bad news is he still turned it over, though.
Yeah, true. Carl, the offensive line, you've talked about it. I heard you and Bob talking about it yesterday during the broadcast. Maggie and I have talked about everybody that's been on the fan airwaves.
We don't want to talk about it
talked
anymore.
About the offensive line. What did you make of game one? Thomas and company yesterday, they couldn't run it, 20 carries as a team for just 60 yards. What did you make of the offensive line's play? I know they mixed and matched at times, injuries as well. What do you make of the offensive line play game one?
Well, if we were coming out of, let's just say we stay with the narrative that came out of the last preseason game, it was that the quarterback's going to get killed because they can't pass block. Well, that's one area. I wouldn't say it was great, but they weren't horrible in pass protection. So that was a sign of life. I just think the run blocking, it wasn't there. They've got to be better at it. They got to be able to run the football, but they've got to be a more balanced approach in terms of what they do well. Like, I think they put so much emphasis on protecting the quarterback, and I think they did that adequately. Because, though Von Miller had 2 sacks, he didn't destroy the game. And we know what bad offensive line play looks like for the Giants. It looks like jailbreaks. It looks like they're giving away free food for the defense to come and hit the quarterback.
Right.
That didn't happen yesterday. So if you want to take anything as a encouragement, you say, okay, well, they showed that they can protect the quarterback adequately and they can build on that. But then you take away from the fact that they needed to run the ball to get some time of possession and get better field position, and they didn't do that very well. So what you get on one end, you lose on the other, and they need balance on that offensive line.
All right, my follow-up to that would be, Carl, I totally agree. Is this group talented enough to do that?
Sure. They're talented enough. I mean, I don't know if you looked around the league, but every team has issues on their offensive line. They just figure out how to make them more productive with what they have. And, they have, again, if we were to our biggest concern, considering it's a passing league, is that can they protect the quarterback in order for him to do some things in the pocket? They were able to do that adequately. I'm not telling you that. I don't even know where they graded out at. But I know they were able to hit some plays when they needed to make some plays in the passing game, and they got the quarterback protected. That said, you got to be able to run the football. And yes, I think they're good enough? Yeah, they just have to call a game plan that will allow them to do that. And again, it's not a scapegoating of the offense or putting more on the defense, but when your defense is ahead of your offense coming out of camp, they've got to be more complementary to the offense to give them more opportunities so that you don't feel like every time they take the field, they've got to score because you don't know if the defense is going to hold. That's kind of the opposite thinking. So it's a team effort. They got to be better as a team. I saw some things on offense, but today is not to talk about all the positives on the offense because they only scored 7 points. So how positive could it be, right?
Maybe tomorrow. Maybe tomorrow we can talk about some of that.
when you start to go the hindsight, well, here's what they did well type of thing, you can do that. But the bottom line is they scored 7 points. They fumbled away key opportunity in the red zone. They had other red zone opportunities that came away with nothing. So if you're in a coach's meeting, you're going to hit the high points and you're going to hit the low points. The high points are the things they need to go into a Thursday night game, right? The low points are what we can talk about because they're going to keep manifesting themselves if they don't get them corrected. And that's their inability to run the football, the Giants' defensive inability to make adjustments to stop passes, the same type of passes that were hurting them all game. And I think, Bridgewater maybe went vertical, truly vertical, maybe 4 or 5 times during the game. And one was dropped. The guy was wide open and he dropped it right at the goal line. So that's uncharacteristic of a team as talented as this Giant defense from a skill set position. And I know they are much better than they play, but that's a function of what did you do to counteract what Pat Shurmur did? Pat Shurmur called an excellent game, and they didn't make the right adjustments or didn't play well within the adjustments that they made to even get the Denver Broncos stopped on most any third or fourth down. They got what they wanted.
And you just mentioned it, too, in your answer there about Thursday Night Football. The schedule does the Giants no favors here. You go up against another good defense in Washington. Saquon Barkley doesn't even get a full week to recover here. And I'm curious to see what the rush attack looks like. Carl, just a few more minutes with you here. We appreciate you're going to be joining us on Mondays during this NFL season again, because we loved having you last year. You know, uncharacteristic mistake from Joe Judge, where he throws the challenge flag on a score where he knows you can't challenge that. It's already been reviewed by the booth. He said afterwards, I know the rule. It was just an emotional moment for me, but it cost the Giants a timeout in the second half. Now they ended up getting blown out, so it didn't matter, but that's a really costly error. He stands up in front of the locker room and owns that. What's the response like, though, amongst the players?
They're fine. The players are fine with it. I mean, they had their own stuff that they had to own up to. They had personal fouls and all kinds of other dumb stuff. So, yeah, I mean, they all just decided that they were going to be accountable for their mistakes in the game. But the true test of this is how they rebound. Washington has the same amount of rest as the Giants do. They're a good team. I'm sure they're looking to get their first win against the Giants in 6 games. So it's up to the Giants to show what they're made of. I mean, this is, you really can't talk about it anymore. If you're within that locker room or those who are supporting the team saying how good they're going to be, they got to go out and show it. They've got to be, to a man, very upset with the way they lost, very disappointed with the way they responded in some key situations, and come out and play mad as hell. I mean, again, there are going to be some high points, and you leave that for the coaching staff because, again, they take that into Thursday on a short week. But the low points are things that we can talk about here because they keep showing up. Yeah. The fumbling by the quarterback keeps showing up. Tight ends up the seam against this defense shows up. Inability to run the football shows up. We don't know if it's going to be a trend, but they did protect the quarterback adequately.
Sorry, can I point out one more, Carl? Not to interrupt you. Another one which has plagued the Giants, I think Giants fans are sick of, the opponent scoring in the 2 minute before the halftime. That's been has been an unfortunate trend for the Giants.
Right. So, and because those things keep showing up, it's the same reason why their record is not better year over year. They've got to be able to eliminate these things. They can't continue to talk about it. I think they want to do it, or they want to do it. They've just got to go out and do it. You can't be talking about it, acknowledging what you did wrong. Just be quiet, go out and prove it. That's all you can. You can't want to do it. You can't be in love with the idea of knowing what you can do and what you have to do. Just go out and do it. That's what Giant football is all about. Results. Show the results and don't continue to talk about it. Yeah. And, we know we did this. We're better. Show us you're a better team. Show us you're better. I believe they're better. I think they're super talented on defense, but this was far from Patrick Graham's best moment as a coach or their players' best moment as a defense. I was shocked that they couldn't make the adjustments.
Yeah, I agree with you. That's why I came out of the game yesterday. The defense, I was stunned at how bad they were, Carl. So I guess we got about a minute left here, Carl. Ask it to you this way. I mean, I think I agree with you. The expectations are here. I think the Giants are a talented group that played really poorly week one. Would you look at their performance on the whole, top to bottom, coaching staff, players, offense, defense, special teams? Would you look at that week one performance as alarming or no?
I would look at it as concerning, not alarming. But again, I can't sit here and be the optimist at this point. I have managed expectations and want to be pleasantly surprised. So it was disappointing. I don't know if it's alarming. It's one game. But I don't know what game 2 holds. They have to show us that they're better than what they showed in week 1. As simple as that. I mean, this team cannot continue to get off to slow starts and play catch up. They got to play ahead. They're good enough in some areas, talent-wise, to win football games early in the year. They've got to be able to do it, not just compete, not just play hard, because that's the storyline every week. They have to be better than that. And so I'm not alarmed. I think maybe they should be sounding the alarm amongst themselves to show and prove more so than to talk about it. And we'll see what happens.